Final Fantasy III learned from its predecessor and took things a step further. Although it's one of the most underrated games in the franchise, it's without a doubt one of the most influential. After all, it was the game that introduced the job system, which is still used today. If you previously had creative freedom in how you level up your characters, Final Fantasy III expanded that freedom by allowing you to switch between 22 different jobs whenever you wanted. To earn every achievement, just like in Final Fantasy I and Final Fantasy II, you need to complete the main story, finish the bestiary, open every single chest. This time you also need to find all the hidden items and level up one of the jobs to level 99, along with the typical miscellaneous tasks. The story begins with 4 Onion Knights, Lunath, Ark, Refia and Ingus, who decide to explore a cave near their hometown, or village. While exploring, they fall deep inside the cave and as they search for a way out, they discover the Wind Crystal. Before they can investigate the crystal, they are attacked by a land turtle. After defeating it, the crystal in the room speaks to them, warning that the balance of the world is in danger. To combat this threat, it blesses them with its power and names them the Warriors of Light. The 4 crystals have the power to give jobs to the party. The Wind Crystal gives the party the Warrior, Monk, White Mage, Black Mage, and Red Mage. We return to the village to speak with Topapa, the village elder and the one who raised the 4 little onions. He encourages us to go on this big adventure and, well, off we go. We reach Kazush and after going inside the local inn, we notice that everyone is invisible. Or almost. We talk with one of the figures who turns out to be Sid, who just happened to be here and was also turned invisible. He lends us his airship so we can solve this little problem. We head to Castle Sasune to find out what's going on, and while exploring the castle, we open a chest that happened to have a monster inside, and after defeating him, we got some jobs to level 10. At the top of the castle, we meet King Sasune, who explains that the reason everyone is slightly invisible is because of the Djinn's curse, and the only way to revert it is by defeating him. He tells us that the Djinn is in a cave right up north of the castle, but to seal him we need a mithril ring. We don't have one, but the princess does. However, the king doesn't know where Princess Sarah is and is afraid that she might have been taken by the Djinn. While exploring the sealed cave, we open a chest and after a short delay, we get. We find Princess Sarah and she joins the party hoping to seal the Djinn with our help. After a few more encounters with monsters, we get. While doing a bit of training and bestiary grinding, we get. We find the Djinn and after Sarah thinking this is Lord of the Rings and simply showing the ring around will do something, we take him down so she can safely seal him. With the curse lifted, she leaves the party and as a reward for lifting the curse, the king gives us a canoe. Thank you, I guess. We head back to Kazu's where we can now see Sid. He joins the party so we can work together to break the boulder that separates this area from the rest of the world. We speak with the town's blacksmith who installs a mithril probe onto Sid's airship, allowing us to destroy the boulder. We succeed in destroying the boulder, but we also destroy the ship. While leveling up the characters and the jobs, we get. We arrive at Sid's hometown, Cannon, where he immediately leaves the party and rushes to his wife, who happens to be sick. We help her out with an elixir and she quickly springs back to her feet. We then travel to Dragon's Peak, and when we reach the top of the mountain, we are grabbed by the local dragon who drops us onto his nest to serve as food. In the nest, we meet Dash, who claims he is suffering from amnesia. Before we can do anything else, we are attacked by Bahamut and since we are nowhere near ready to face him, we simply run. Dash gives us the spell Mini, which allows us to shrink, which is useful since we need to be very tiny to enter the village of Tozus. Inside, we learn that one of the villagers has been poisoned and after giving him an antidote, he tells us about the secret passage leading to the tunnels. After crossing the tunnels, we reach the Vikings' Cove and we discover that the Vikings are trapped in there because a sea dragon wrecked all their ships. By talking with the captain, he says he will give us his ship if we manage to get rid of the dragon. We travel to the Nepto temple where the dragon used to be, and after shrinking again, we learn that the dragon woke up because the rat stole the crystal that was keeping him at bay. After defeating the rat, we place the missing eye back into its socket, which calms down the dragon. The statue, which was the soul of the dragon, gives us the Fang of Water to thank us for what we did. Since we have free range on the ocean now, we explore and we reach the Gulgan Gulch, where the Gulgans live. The Elder gives us the Toad spell that we are going to need in order to explore the Tower of Owen, the structure that supports the continent we are in that happens to be called the Flying Continent. While exploring the tower and training our jobs, our White Mage reaches level 50, getting us. As we explore, Dash starts remembering things about his past and that he is an ancient. While taking a step back and farming for the bestiary, we get. After a bit of grinding, we return to the tower. When we reach the top, we find the Medusa waiting for us. After the battle, she damages the tower's engine that would cause the tower to fall, and with it, the entire continent. Thankfully, Dash finally remembers who he is. He is the watchman of the tower and he tells us that the only way to save it is by repairing it from the inside. He goes in, but not before teleporting us outside to safety. Before his noble sacrifice, Dash told us that the fire crystal can be found on the island of the dwarves, so that's our next destination. When we get there, we learn that someone named Gutsko stole one of the horns of ice, and he plans to use it to gain access to the fire crystal. So we need to go to the subterranean lake where he ran off to. After finding him and beating him up, a strange shadow follows us, but we ignore it. That is until the dwarf's leader tells us to place the horn back in its place, and that shadow happens to be Gutsko, because apparently that's something he can do. He proceeds to steal both horns and runs towards the crystal. So we do the same. We reach the molten cave where the crystal is, and while exploring I noticed that I was starting to struggle a bit against the monsters, so I took a step outside to level up a bit, and after a while, we get. With that out of the way, we go back to the molten cave until we reach the fire crystal where Gutsko is waiting for us. After a quite decent fight, we get. After we defeat him, the crystal speaks with us, giving us a new set of jobs. We return to the Dwarven Hollows and learn that the city of Tokul is under attack, so we head there to help. But when we arrive, we are caught in a trap and captured. We are now prisoners in Castle Hein. We share the cell with King Argus, who tells us that he was betrayed by Hein, his own advisor, and we need to defeat him in order to bring peace to his kingdom. We shrink ourselves to leave our cell, and now it's time to explore. We eventually find Hein and defeat him, lifting the curse of the Castle Hein, who turns out to be the Elder Tree. In order to thank us, the tree rewards us with the Fang of Wind. We then proceed to meet again with King Argus and he gives us the Wheel of Time. He then tells us to show it to Sid so he can transform our little boat into an airship. Having an airship allows us to leave the flying continent. While exploring, we find a wrecked ship where we learn that the water crystal was buried during the earthquake when all of this started, and without its powers, the people were turned to stone, leaving the entire continent beneath the ocean. And we learn all of this from Arya, the priestess of the Temple of Water where the water crystal is. We got lucky. She joins the party and we reach the temple. Inside, we find a fragment of the crystal that still has its powers. We reach the water crystal inside the cave right up north, and after we bring the fragment to the crystal so it restores its powers, Arya pushes us out of the way of an arrow that was meant for us. The arrow was shot by Kraken, who was sent by Zand in order to protect the crystal so it never regains its powers. After defeating him, Arya passes away, but not before granting us the powers of the crystal. With the water crystal restored, it reverses the damage the earthquake caused, making the submerged land rise up. We wake up 3 days later in the local inn, and as soon as we leave the bed, we get with our ship chained up, we need to get the key from the local lord, but first, we need to get some shoes so we can cross the swamps, and those are in the sewers. One of the locals tells us where the entry is, and after getting inside, we find quadruples surrounded by goblins. We save them and make our way. On the bottom floor, we see an old lady, and after we ask her for the shoes, she actually throws a small bomb at us. The quadruplets we saved earlier warns us so we can dodge, and after they speak with Delilah, the old lady, they vouch for us so she can give us the shoes. We enter Golder Manor, the house of the local lord, and after exploring the mansion, we find him and defeat him. But in his last effort, he destroys the earth crystal, making all of our efforts useless. Upon his death, we find the key that was holding our ship. Finally free, we fly near Castle Saronia, and our airship is immediately bombarded out of the sky due to the ongoing inner war. Eventually, we find Saronia's prince, Alice, inside a tavern, and we learn that he was exiled. After saving him from some soldiers, he joins the party hoping to reason with his father to stop the war. While exploring Saronia, we open off of the chest. Inside the castle, we manage to get a hearing with the king, but it's only scheduled for the day after. While we rest, the king, who will learn that he's being controlled by one of his advisors, tries to stab Alice, but at the last minute, he resists the mind control and ends up stabbing himself. We confront the mind controller, and after taking him down, with the death of his father, Alice becomes the new king of Saronia. After speaking with the engineers of the Saronia kingdom, they give us a new ship that allows us to travel through windy regions, and with it, we get With our new ship, we go to the windy regions towards Doga's Manor, but before we get there, after slaying some more monsters, we get We enter Doga's Manor and we get surrounded by Muggles. They realize we are the Warriors of Light and step back. We learn that Doga is one of Noah's disciples, together with Unei and Zand, the latter being the one behind the imbalance of the world and the reason everything is happening. We also learn that the crystal Goldlord destroyed wasn't really the Earth Crystal, and with that new information, Doga joins the party. We need to go to the Cave of the Circle, and for that, we need to use Mini so we can get inside. We reach the end of the cave, and Doga casts a spell on our ship so we can act as a submarine. Now the plan is simple. We need to go to the Temple of Time so we can get the Noah's flute so we can wake up Unei, and while we do that, Doga will go find the Eureka's key. We reach the temple, grab the flute, and after fighting a couple monsters, we get We reach Unei's shrine and use the flute to wake her up. She joins the party and gives us the Fang of Fire and tells us that once we have the 4 fangs, we can take down the barriers that protect Zan's tower. She also tells us that we need a new airship, and for that, we need to go to the ancient ruins. We finally reach the new airship called the Invincible, and after a quick tour, she tells us that we need to find the last Fang, the Fang of Earth, that's on the Cave of Shadows, and after we do so, to meet her on Doga's Manor. We reach the Cave of Shadows, find the last Fang, and we get attacked by its guardian. After taking him down, we grab the Fang and head to the ancient maze. We get inside, find the crystal, and once again, we get attacked by another guardian. We take him down and receive the blessing of the crystal. We return to Doga's Manor to find out what they wanted. They want to die. Not quite. They want us to fight so we can produce a massive amount of energy so we can power up the key to Eureka. Eureka is the place where the strongest weapons in the planet are sealed. After taking out both Doga and Unei, they give us the Eureka key and the Circus key, but before we worry about that, it's time to get some summons. We travel to Saronia once again, this time to its underwater catacombs. We go inside to fight Odin and we get him as a summon. We then travel to Lake Dor, back on the Flying Continent so we can fight the Leviathan and get him as a summon as well. We then travel back to the Bahamut's lair, and after a very quick fight, we also get him as a summon. With only one summon left, we go to Replitu, buy a Chocobo summon, and after teaching it, we get It's time to go to Eureka so we can get those weapons. Inside the ancient maze, we reach a mirror and the Eureka key resonates with it, allowing us to go through. Upon exploring Eureka and defeating each of the 5 guardians defending the 5 weapons, we get the last hidden item and the last weapon. After leaving Eureka, it's time to climb the rest of the Crystal Tower. While doing so, we level up a lot, getting By reaching the very top, we finally confront Zand, and after being defeated, he tells us that it doesn't matter if we killed him, because the Cloud of Darkness has already been gathered and it's going to overtake the world. This prompts for the very own Cloud of Darkness to appear and take us out with a simple attack. Thankfully, we have the protagonist plot armor, and the spirits of Toga and Unei help us with reviving us so we can enter the world of darkness, so we can save both the world of light and the world of dark. And by entering the world of darkness, we get The World of Darkness has 5 inner dungeons, and in each there's a Crystal of Darkness, and in order to weaken the Cloud of Darkness, we need to defeat each Warrior of Dark who protects the crystal. We start with the Dark Fire Crystal, where we fight against the Two-Headed Dragon, and after a very long battle, we finally take him down. Before entering the next room, after killing some more monsters for the bestiary, we level up one job to level 99. The second room has the Dark Wind Crystal, where we go against Cerberus, which, although hard, was way easier than the Two-Headed Dragon. Next up is the Dark Water Crystal, and we fight against Echidna, which was very easy. On the final room, after defeating the monster inside the last chest of the game, we get We finally see the Dark Earth Crystal, and after fighting against the Ahriman guarding it, we easily defeat him. Now that we have the Warriors of Dark on our side, we are finally able to go against the Cloud of Darkness. And it was a very underwhelming battle after a couple of attacks of our ninja. Wait, was that it? Just that? Ninja is broken with the shurikens. After we successfully defeat the Cloud of Darkness, we restore the world as it was. With the final battle being so underwhelming after realizing how broken the ninja job is, I have to say that Final Fantasy XIII surprised me. I still didn't completely get the gist of all of the job roles and how they affect your stats, but the fact is, I could create the most absurd parties and I could make them work more or less, and that was really fun. I enjoyed the story, even if the whole Warrior of Light thing was a bit repetitive after playing the very first entry. Maybe if I hadn't played Final Fantasy I 2 months ago, I wouldn't be so bothered by it. Nonetheless, so far, this entry had the best story, no doubt about it. Final Fantasy III didn't have a hidden type of monster like the War Mech or the Iron Giant, but it had several optional bosses that were very amusing to fight. The exploration felt rewarding because of the hidden items, and overall it felt like a very engaging game. The boss fights are very well put together, and they are a challenge no matter how overleveled you are. If you are curious whether it's worth to play Final Fantasy III, then yes, it is. You will have a good time with it, even if you just want to experiment with the very first job system. If you watch my whole journey, thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next one.